Hello, and welcome to an Ooma Office onboarding video. This is our 5th video in the series, and we'll cover connecting the phones once you receive them, customizing their buttons, and submitting the transfer of your existing phone numbers. We intend for you to watch and follow along with this video once you receive your phones in the mail. We begin back on the Ooma Office web portal. First, we will go to the Devices tab, which is where you can see all of your devices. When you receive the phones, they should come in a box with a label. The label will look like this. On the top right-hand side here, you will have the model number. In the left here, you will have the MAC address. And then at the bottom, the manufacturer. So we partner with Grandstream for all of our Ooma phone models, and the other phone model that we sell is the Yealink. So it will be either Grandstream or Yealink. If you need to find your phone model for any compatibility reasons, for example, if you need headsets, you can search for the Grandstream manufacturer and the same model number, the 2612, for example, in this case, or your matching number. You should also see on the MAC address, which is what we'll use to find the phone, it should appear on the Devices tab as well as on the underside of the phone. So you'll see at the bottom here, we'll have the same MAC address here, and in the top the black label here will have the manufacturer listed as well. So we'll come back to that. Usually, when we ship out the phones, with 99% of the time the phones will be listed on this page, Settings, Devices. In the case that it is a return, so we swap out the phones for any reason, or the phones were faulty and we sent out new ones, then you will have to add the phone. Now, this is going to be a rare occasion. Most of the time, like I said, we do this ourselves, but you click Add, choose IP phone, and then select the model. So this is the same model from the previous label, right? Ooma 2612 in this case. So I find the Ooma 2612 in the top right, click on it, and then I will put in the MAC address. So once again, that's this number over here, ending in B005. Then you save, and it will ask you to assign the phone to a specific person. So here we can go in and assign it to a specific user. For this example, I'll just select Bob. Now that we've added the phone, we can go in and change the settings for Bob. So you'll see the phone here represented with the MAC address. If for any reason you need to find whose phone is whose, you can always look up the MAC address. The last four will usually be different, so I would just look at the last four, B005 in this case, and just make sure it matches with the phone on the label you had before, as well as with the back of the phone here. And then if you want to change any of the buttons for Bob's phone, we can open up the settings and go to the Programmable Buttons tab. So here you'll see that the 2612 has 4 buttons on the side of the screen. 2 of them, your first 2 buttons on any phone, will be grayed out. That means that they will be phone lines. We need at least 2 phone lines for these phones so that you can receive a call on the first phone line, and then you can receive a second call and put the first one on hold using that second phone line. So this lets you alternate the calls between those 2 buttons. You'll see as well that we can add pages of buttons. So you're not limited to one page, and you can, to navigate throughout the pages of programmable buttons, you can use the phone's directional pad. So just change the settings for the buttons. You can click either this rectangle or this number. It will pull up the function of the programmable button on the right-hand side, and here we can select whether what we want the phone to do. A call park is a hold feature, meaning when you have an active call and you press the call park button, it will put the call on hold, and then any other phone can unpark that call as long as they share the same target. So we can put target as 1, and then just write out hold 1. So this would make it so that when Bob has a call and he presses this button, the person would be on hold on spot 1. And now if I had a second phone, I would do the same exact features here, and then that phone could answer the call that Bob had parked on spot 1. Let's say we want to have 2 of those, so we can do the same setup here. The only difference here is the target. So the target I don't want to be 1 because that's already taken by the first spot. So instead I make that hold 2, and then I set that up so that it has 2 hold buttons. You can have up to 5 hold buttons with Ooma Basic, or shared hold lines with Ooma Basic, and 10 with Ooma Pro. So here for option 5, let's select the next feature, which is extension monitoring. Extension monitoring lets you see if another one of your coworkers is on the phone. So Bob could see if Stacy, John, or Billy is on the phone. He would select each of those for extension monitoring. The other thing that extension monitoring can do is that it can intercept calls that are coming in. So let's say Bob is part of sales and John and Stacy are part of support, but they're both busy taking calls. So what Bob could do with his extension monitoring buttons is he could see when a call is coming into their phones that their line is blinking, and he could press their button to intercept the call when that button is blinking. Otherwise, if the button on the left-hand side of the screen is green, that means they're available. If it is red, they are busy. The next feature is going to be intercom, which is a similar feature to the extension monitoring, but it lets you call that phone's speaker. There are also specific intercom features that we'll get into under the advanced settings, where you can select for the intercom to take over the call. So even if, for example, Stacy was on an active call in this case, we could select for it to take over the call that she was on. So that is the intercom option. Multicast paging is if you have an overhead paging system, for example, in grocery stores where they have speakers set up, then you would use a multicast paging. It is compatible with 2 devices, the SNOM PA1 and the Algo. If you have any questions on this, I would call support and ask for a compatibility guide. We also have it on our support website, and I will include a link to the multicast overhead paging systems available in the description of this video. Now, prefix is if you want to do a specific star code. So for example, if I want to do *72, which is a forward code, and then put in the phone number that I want the call to forward to, then I could call this vacation forward, and whenever I press this button here, it would start forwarding automatically to this number. So this prefix lets you do star codes. The other useful prefix is if you do ** and then the extension number of someone, that will let you transfer to that person's voicemail directly, or call into that person's voicemail directly. So if you want to transfer directly to voicemail, you could transfer to this number. And then speed dial is pretty self-explanatory. For external, you would put in the speed dial phone number, and then for internal, you can select the options for who you want to speed dial. However, with speed dial internal, I recommend just doing extension monitoring. It has that same feature. As long as you're pressing someone who's available, meaning the green option, it will speed dial them anyways. So those are the main options for the programmable buttons. So you can customize your phone. As soon as you hit save, it'll restart your phone if your phone is already on. Otherwise, when you plug in your phone, it should pull these features from our servers. And then we can delete one of the pages since we only took up 2 pages. So in advanced settings, this is where you can allow for the intercom settings I was talking about. So when an intercom call comes in, you have the option to automatically unmute your phone's microphone. That way, as soon as the intercom call comes in, you're having a two-way conversation. Otherwise, if you want to just have the intercom call be an announcement and not have two-way communication, you could automatically mute the microphone here. Allow intercom to interrupt an active call. That was the feature I was talking about. If someone is on an active call, this setting would allow for the intercom feature to specifically interrupt that call and for you to be able to speak to that person. And then play multicast paging announcements on this device. So let's say you went with the overhead paging system and you select this. That means that this phone would be included in that speaker system. So whenever the speaker system makes the announcement, this phone would also make the announcement from its speaker. Finally, if your phone is Wi-Fi capable, it will be one of the models that has a W at the end. So I will show those quickly. Under Add and IP phones, you'll see we have some models such as the 2602W and the 2624W. So those are Wi-Fi capable phones. So for those Wi-Fi capable phones, you can go into the phone settings and connect them to your Wi-Fi network directly. For phones that are not Wi-Fi capable, or if you want a more reliable connection, you can connect them directly through an Ethernet cable. So here, you'll see there's 2 ports for Ethernet. The input port, meaning where the internet comes into the phone, needs to be where there's the 3 squares. So no matter what, this one needs an Ethernet connection if you're connecting it that way through to the internet. The second port here with a computer lets you output internet to your computer. So let's say you have currently 1 internet port at your desk. What you can do is take the port that's coming to your computer and plug it in the back of our phone here where there's the 3 boxes, and then take the cable that came with our phone and connect one end to the back of your computer and the other end to this port with a computer icon. That makes it so that your internet comes through the wall into the phone where there's the 3 boxes, and then out of the phone and back to your computer using the second port. For the handset, you're going to connect that to the handset button. If you purchase a headset, you can plug it in here. We don't sell headsets ourselves, but for a headset compatibility guide, I will include that in the description of this video, depending on your phone model. And finally, if you don't have power over Ethernet, you can use this to power the phone with the power adapter that came with the phone. So that will be the getting the phone online. Finally, once you have all of that done, your light here should turn on green, letting you know that your phone is connected. And then you can go and submit for your number transfer. So to do that, you go to Account and Porting at the top of the admin website, and you click Start Number Transfer. From here, you select where you're transferring the number from. It probably won't be Ooma Residential, otherwise you'll need to call into support. And then make sure you submit one port per phone bill. So meaning, like, let's say you have 2 accounts with Verizon, make sure that you submit 2 separate ports if the numbers are with 2 separate accounts. If they're on the same account, that's fine. You can submit 1 port. So at this point, we've received our desk phones. DSL internet, it means that you have internet that goes through a phone line. If you do have this type of internet, you'll have to separate it from the phone by a process called dry loop. So you'll have to request for that. And I think it gives you a warning too. Yeah, so if you do have DSL internet, it will let you know. Most of the US at this point is on cable or fiber, but some people still have DSL, so make sure to check for that so that when your numbers transfer over, you aren't out of internet. And then finally, just make sure that the numbers are registered on the same phone bill to the same person and address, same as the previous one. Finally, now that we have that set up, we can enter in the number that we want to transfer over. And then here, we'll select where we want the number to go once it transfers over. So I had set up everything so that the main phone calls would come through the auto attendant. In the second video of this series, we had done that. So that's where I will select for my number to go. I can remove the temporary number because this is not the final number I want on my account. And then I can also make this the main number once my numbers transfer over. So here, I click Next. And at this point, I will need to enter in the information as it appears on my previous provider's phone bill. So here I can choose what type of phone provider I had. Let's say it was a landline with AT&T, and I have cable internet, which is fairly standard. Some people have fiber, some people have DSL. So once I have that set up, I will have to put in the AT&T account number and the business name that my phone bill is under. So make sure, if you aren't sure about these things, to look at your latest phone bill with your current provider and enter those in as they appear on the phone bill. And then you can put in the first name of the account administrator for that. In this case, it would be AT&T account, but for that, the old provider's account. And then finally, you can put in the address. So Newark, zip code, and state. And it will just have you accept all the agreements for number porting. Now, usually the number porting, in my experience, takes 1 to 2 weeks, about 5 to 10 business days. In rare cases where we get something wrong or something happens with the port, it can take up to 3 to 4 weeks. So just double check before you submit here that all the information matches your old bill, so to avoid any delays. Now you can click Submit, and this will create the porting request. And here we can now view the porting request. You'll see that the order was received, the information was verified, and then we will initiate the port and give you a specific date once we receive that from your old provider. So in this case, once AT&T gives us a final date, we will let you know that date. You should also receive an email. So if I open up the emails, confirming that your port was submitted. So here it says the transfer is expected to happen within 7 to 10 days. What to do next. Once the port is submitted, you should receive an email confirming it. Our team will also send you an email when we confirm the final date of the port with your old provider. So this is our final video in the series going over the Ooma Basic setup. Our following videos will cover the Ooma Pro and Pro Plus features. If you're using Ooma Basic and would like to see the features of Ooma Pro or Pro Plus, you can feel free to continue watching. Otherwise, thank you for watching our videos. And as always, if ever you have any questions or need help with the setup, feel free to call our support number at 866-939-6662. Thank you.